Welcome to Intuitive Defense. My name is Baker. In this video, I'll be talking about a current event that has the potential to negatively affect millions of law-abiding citizens, which is the 28th Amendment proposal put forth by Governor Gavin Newsom out of California. Before getting into that, let me just do a brief overview of the important documents that pertain to our freedoms and rights, and the process in which one of those documents can be amended. We have the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. Both are two different documents, but are often confused. The Declaration of Independence is a list of grievances against the Crown in England. This document was created in 1776 for the purpose of separation from British rule. It is also considered a national treasure, and Nicolas Cage has tried stealing it several times.
I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
The United States Constitution is a legal document that contains laws and principles to establish a system for governance. This document was created in 1787 and first ratified in 1791 with the first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights. Currently, there are 27 amendments to the United States Constitution. Throughout our history, there has only been one amendment repealed, which was the 18th Amendment, Prohibition of Liquor. Through the use of the 21st Amendment, repeal the prohibition, which, since we're talking about government overreach, I'm taking full advantage of today. Now, just in full disclosure, I have a splash of coffee in my whiskey. Delightful. Side note, as it stands, the only amendment repealed was one that limited freedoms and rights, the 18th Amendment. Regardless of your stance or opinion on alcohol, the 18th Amendment removed the freedom and right from people to make their own decision on alcohol. You don't have to agree with a particular freedom or right, but you should agree with the ability for people to make their own choices on how they want to use their freedoms and rights, as long as their use of them does not deprive others of their freedoms and rights. It is also important to understand that the government can't just simply remove or repeal an amendment on their own. What I mean by this is, they can't just say, you know what, the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searches and seizures, doesn't exist anymore. We're removing it from the Constitution. So starting today, we are searching and seizing unreasonably. No, it doesn't work that way. The only way to repeal an amendment is with the ratification of a new amendment that would specifically alter, limit, or repeal a previous amendment. For example, the 21st Amendment had to be ratified in order to repeal the 18th Amendment. In order to ratify a new amendment, it must be constitutional, meaning the proposal of a new amendment, standalone or repeal, must be done one of two ways. Proposed by Congress with a 2/3 majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, or a constitutional convention called for by 2/3 of the state legislatures. There are 50, so 34 would be needed. A proposed amendment becomes part of the Constitution as soon as it is ratified by 3/4 of the states, so 38 out of 50. The proposal and ratification process can be lengthy and detailed. This is a good thing because it helps keep or slow a power-hungry government or leaders from gaining power overnight. Welcome to June 2023, the current event moment. As mentioned in the video intro, Governor Gavin Newsom has invoked Article 5 of the United States Constitution, the process to alter the Constitution, by proposing the idea of the 28th Amendment, which targets the Second Amendment. He will have you believe the addition of the 28th Amendment protects freedoms and rights, but it specifically places limitations or bans on certain aspects protected by the Second Amendment. By definition, if you are seeking to limit or reduce individual freedoms and rights, you are not protecting individual freedoms and rights, and therefore are infringing on them. So he is either ignorant on his own proposal, or he is lying and deceiving people using verbiage that alters his true intentions. Either way, his actions are problematic and designed to take away from the American people. I have said in previous videos and articles that governments and leaders use a common "this is for your safety" tactic or justification to coerce people into surrendering their freedoms and rights. Governor Gavin Newsom is deploying the same strategy with the 28th Amendment Campaign for Democracy video. From the second this video starts, he is using fear and emotions to push his idea. He highlights tragedies and introduces some pro-Second Amendment villains as a way to subtly demonize the gun and people who support certain types of guns, while at the same time introducing himself as the hero.
Every time, it's the same. They tell us we can't stop these massacres. They tell us we have to stand by and watch tragedy after tragedy unfold in our communities. They say we can't stop domestic terrorism without violating the Second Amendment. and that thoughts and prayers are the best we can do. I'm here to say that's a lie. In this country, we do have the power to change things, to reclaim our freedom from fear. Our ability to make a more perfect union is literally written into the Constitution. So today, I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution to do just that.
Keep in mind, Governor Gavin Newsom is a politician, and a very good one at that. Not good in the sense he uses facts and logic to do what's best for the people he supposedly represents, but good in the sense that he uses fear and emotions to do what's best for him. Usually, good politicians work to the benefit of themselves, which is what makes them good. They can play the game and stay in the spotlight longer. They say and do things in preparation for their next move within the political environment. Due to his recent Campaign for Democracy tour in several states, some people are speculating he might throw his name in the hat for a presidential run in 2024 or later. If those speculations are correct, his video introducing his idea for the 28th Amendment, in political terms, would be a very good move for him.
Well, isn't this a coincidence?
Not only would this give him a controversial topic to run on, but he would be leading the charge on it. If this is correct, and he does run for president, this whole 28th Amendment proposal is for political gain. Again, he is doing something for himself, not the American people, like you and I. No matter how virtuous he makes us sound, this is for selfish reasons. Also, keep in mind, if him running for president is the case, he wants to limit the rights and freedoms of people to better himself. This is just my opinion. Maybe he's just testing the waters with this video, or maybe he has no intention on running for president. Maybe this is just his way to be known for something more than just being the governor of California. Hand thing and gravelly voice. Whatever his motivation is, in my opinion, it is not about saving lives.
The 28th Amendment permanently enshrines 4 additions to the laws of our land.
The 28th Amendment is seeking to add 4 new additions to the law. Keep in mind, if he was truly concerned about saving lives or reducing crime where a gun or any other weapon for that matter is used, these new laws would be specifically targeting lawless, violent criminals for their actions, not law-abiding citizens for no actions. A gun is an object, just like a bat, hammer, knife, car, etc. For that object to do harm, a person must interact with it. Wow. Instead of blaming the actions of the person who used it, they blame the object. So in all reality, he and other anti-gun politicians and anti-gun groups do not have as big of a problem with the actions of violent criminals as they do with the object, a gun. They make it sound as though if the object, the gun, was not there, the violent, lawless criminal would have never done violent, lawless criminal things. They also act as though a new law will magically prevent criminals from doing criminal things. If that was the case, then all the existing gun laws would prevent crimes involving guns, all drug laws would prevent crimes involving drugs, and all murder laws would prevent crimes involving murders. If it's one thing I've learned, it's criminals will not break a new law. No, sir.
Do you know what this is? It's a grenade! And I'm pulling the pin, so no funny business.
We do not have an object gun problem, we have a people problem. Something has shifted in our society that is influencing people to do horrible things to each other with or without the use of objects, bats, hammers, knives, cars, etc. If people like Governor Gavin Newsom truly wanted to fix the problem, they would address the real issue, people, not an object, like a gun. Therefore, if he wants to ignore the real issue, what is his true motivation to go after the object, the gun? With an estimated 400 million guns in the United States, if guns were in fact the problem, we'd know about it because everyone would be dead, some twice.
It raises the minimum age to purchase a firearm from 18 to 21. Because if you can't buy a beer, you shouldn't be able to buy a gun.
Increase the minimum age requirement to purchase a gun to 21. For a handgun, that is already the minimum age, but for a rifle or shotgun it is 18. I don't agree with this. In fact, I don't agree with the already existing minimum age requirement to purchase a handgun. In most states, the age of majority, the age at which an individual has legal control of their person, actions, and decisions, is 18. If at this age they are considered an adult and can vote or enter into military service, they should not have an additional limitation to exercise their Second Amendment right. especially with the way things are right now, where you have many people and groups that are pushing for individuals under the age of majority to make life-altering decisions without parental or guardian consent, or to even vote. It would seem to me that if a minor is adult enough to do some things, then they are adult enough to do other things when they reach the age of majority, including exercising their Second Amendment right.
It mandates universal background checks to prevent truly dangerous people from purchasing a gun that can be used in a crime.
Background checks are already in place and used when an individual purchases a firearm from an FFL, Federal Firearms Licensees, at a gun store or gun show. In most cases, they are not needed for private transactions, but that is something they want to change and track. Universal background checks are nothing more than a way to create a gun registry, which might sound like a good idea, but a registry makes confiscation easier and is the path that leads to deprivation of rights. History has proven this. Leaders with evil intentions stripped people of their means of protection before stripping them of their freedoms and rights. It's not hyperbole. Weaker people are easier to control. The Second Amendment protects the rest, meaning if the Second Amendment is repealed or modified, the people lose the means to effectively protect their individual freedoms and rights. It's a domino effect. When one falls, they all eventually fall as a result of the first.
It institutes reasonable waiting periods for all gun purchases.
I don't agree with this, or current waiting periods used in some places already, including California. This is a right, not a privilege. Therefore, you should not have to wait before exercising your right. It is your right to use when you want, not the government's right to tell you when you can use it. Due to the failed policies founded on flawed ideologies of some leaders throughout the United States, along with soft-on-crime district attorneys and lower numbers within law enforcement, criminals are becoming even more emboldened. Because of this, a large amount of people have decided to take responsibility for their well-being by exercising their Second Amendment right. Over the last few years, gun purchases and new gun owners, first-time gun buyers, have increased. Women and minorities responsible for a large percentage of those numbers. If an individual is worried enough to become a new gun owner, that means they feel there's a possibility of a large threat present, and they immediately want a more effective means of protection. Since bad things can happen to good people within the blink of an eye, they should not be forced to undergo a reasonable and arbitrary waiting period due to the failures of government. It should be noted, these new gun owner numbers include people who never wanted or liked guns, but now they understand the benefit of being able to protect themselves or others more effectively. I personally know several people who were never gunners and encouraged the big government principles of stricter gun laws, but are now gun owners who see the dangers and misconceptions, often lies, of gun laws. Taking an anti-gun stance, especially for virtuous reasons, is your right, but you do not have the right to limit or reduce my right because of your virtue or fear or just willful ignorance. My theory is this: I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Stay strapped or get clapped. The safety of an individual and means to self-defense is not something that can wait a reasonable amount of time.
And it bans civilians from buying assault rifles, those weapons of war our founding fathers never foresaw. This will guarantee states as well the ability to enact common sense gun safety laws while leaving the Second Amendment intact and respecting America's gun-owning tradition.
Bans civilians from buying assault rifles. This is a generic term used by anti-gun people and anti-gun groups based solely on how a rifle looks and the attachments it might have. Usually when you hear an individual use the term assault rifle, that is a pretty good indication they have no idea what they're talking about, and the next few sentences will be regurgitated bullshit they've heard other idiots say. An assault rifle and weapon of war is specific verbiage designed to elicit an emotional response. The majority of anti-gun people and groups argue on emotions instead of debate on facts. It is very hard to prove or disprove what a person feels, which is why they use emotional verbiage and talking points to further their agenda, because they are never wrong. But they're probably also never right, too. Yeah, whatever. But hey, at least they feel good. Facts are just that, facts, and can be statistically proven or disproven. Emotional people will not use facts, and often, when facts are provided, they fall back on emotions. It is obvious when this happens because they will be the loudest person in the room saying the most ridiculous things.
I don't know what we're yelling about! Loud noises!
When all else fails, They just resort to labeling or name calling. Of course, this happens on most topics, not just guns.
Hey! Where did you get those clothes? At the toilet store?
Anyway, our nation's founders used weapons of war to defend themselves and others from a tyrannical government. Given the technological advancements made throughout history, it is ignorant to assume the founders did not anticipate future advancements in firearms. Therefore, the Second Amendment protects the freedoms and rights for people to own, possess, and use all weapons, regardless of the title given to them or the time period they exist. There's a reason the Second Amendment does not set limitations on the types of weapons. Matter of fact, the only limitation within the Second Amendment is to government shall not be infringed. Yeah, I'm talking to you, government, if you're listening. Of course you're listening. You're always listening. You don't hear what I have to say.
It's no hassle. But all I'm saying, they're gonna get a. I'm just. Knock. Who's there?
People like using the term common sense gun controller, common sense gun laws. Common sense gun control was typically a term used by anti-gun politicians and anti-gun groups. They have started using the term common sense gun laws because gun control implies controlling guns, and the anti-gun politicians and anti-gun groups were getting called out over it, especially when they would say, "No one is coming for your guns," right after saying, "common sense gun control." They didn't change their position, they just changed the words, which is something that happens a lot. Although the words are slightly different now, the action is still the same. Limitation of freedoms and rights either through gun control or gun laws. Making good people helpless won't make bad people harmless.
This fight won't be easy.
Oh good, the hero emerges again. This freaking guy.
And it certainly won't be fast. Convening a constitutional convention requires 2/3 of the states to call for this. California will be the first. But that's just the beginning. Join us by going to campaignfordemocracy.com and signing the petition. To protect our communities and protect our freedom, support the 28th.
Oh man. Whew, I am glad that video of him is done with. I had to listen to this snake in the grass talk way more than I wanted, which caused me to have to add whiskey to my whiskey. Boy, am I glad the 18th Amendment is gone. I will give him credit where credit is due. He puts on a hell of a show and could probably sell ice to an Eskimo while convincing them they are bad people for recklessly using ice that ultimately led to the sinking of the Titanic. Anyway, to protect our communities and to protect our freedoms, support the 28th. Supporting the 28th 100% limits freedoms and rights. He even said that by using words like ban. That's what this whole thing is about. Again, you can't protect freedoms and rights by limiting freedoms and rights. That's like saying, support driving safe by driving your car off of a cliff. Yay, we're safe. Remember, this new amendment idea is coming from a guy that not too long ago limited people's freedoms and rights in the name of safety, but conveniently it was safe enough for him and his friends to do the very thing he deprived others of. He is part of the rules for thee, not for me crowd. Not to mention, he has the luxury of an armed security detail who, if necessary, will use an assault rifle or weapon of war in defense of Governor Gavin Newsom. Kind of ironic that, again, it is not safe enough for you to own such a weapon, but it is safe enough for him to be surrounded by people who have those weapons. Rules for thee, not for me. Now, I'm sure someone would argue, he is the governor and he is a very important person and deserves to be safe and blah, blah, blah. We must protect his hair at all costs. Sure, I get it. But is his safety more important to the average citizen than their own safety? The average citizen does not have a security detail. They are their own security. So, if an assault rifle or weapon of war is good enough for Governor Gavin Newsom's security detail to use for his security, they are also good enough for the average citizen to use for their security. At the end of the day, the reason of use is the same: protection. If Governor Gavin Newsom feels so strongly against the use of certain firearms, he should lead by example and prevent his security detail from using them to potentially save his life should a situation arise. Again, if he really wants to lead by example and show the average person how much he believes in his new laws and how much safer they will make everyone, especially since California is already implementing so many of those laws, he should immediately dismantle his protection detail and move like the common peasants do. Pay attention to the people demanding that you give up your freedoms and rights. They are usually the same people who are in positions that allow for or come with a protection detail, or that have enough money they can pay for security. Their position or their wealth has made them out of touch with reality. Now, I'm not against people having security by any means. If someone has that luxury or can afford to purchase it, good for them. No hard feelings. That being said, do not deprive me of my right to self-protection while you are enjoying the benefits of someone else protecting you. That is the elitist mentality that Governor Gavin Newsom has displayed on many occasions, including now with the 28th Amendment proposal. He does not view the people, you and I, as equals. He views us as subjects, which is why he wants to take our freedoms and rights while making sure his are not affected. If Governor Gavin Newsom does run for president, and he is elected, whether it's now or in the future, he will be afforded the luxury of Secret Service protection for the rest of his life. Meaning, although he does not think you have a right to purchasing an assault rifle or weapon of war with your own money, money from your own pocket in the form of taxation will help pay for his protection detail armed with assault rifles or weapons of war. Again, rules for thee, not for me. It should be noted that another anti-gun individual who believes there should be limitations of freedoms and rights imposed on people to exercise their Second Amendment right is the same person who, in 2013, signed the former President's Protection Act of 2012, which reinstated lifetime Secret Service protection. This individual is former President Barack Obama.
Oh, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's science right there.
At least anti-gun politicians are consistent in making sure they are continuously surrounded by guns for their protection. Those are just my observations and opinions on this horrible proposal. I personally think this was more of a political stunt for attention purposes on the part of Governor Gavin Newsom. I honestly don't think there will be a successful invocation of Article 5 for the 28th Amendment proposal, let alone it later being ratified. But who knows? Anything is possible in today's world.
Look what I can do.
The important takeaway here, though, is given the opportunity or the power, this is what Governor Gavin Newsom would do. Actually, I think he would do something far more extreme, but this is just on the cusp of what he can push right now. What do you think? Does this proposal stand a chance? And does it protect freedoms and rights like Governor Gavin Newsom claims it does? Let us know in the comment section of this video. Lastly, we're working on building the Intuitive Defense channel and have lots of ideas for upcoming videos, along with continued videos for our noob series. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel for future content. Some of it might be slightly more enjoyable than a kick to the junk. To Governor Gavin Newsom, you and your authoritarian ideas can pound sand.